What's up everyone, my name is Tyler and today we're talking about Cyberpunk and its rocky launch on last-gen consoles. So, get your hate comments ready and your popcorn because it's gonna be a wild ride. Oh, and make sure to subscribe and let me know if you want to see more gaming-related videos like this. Alright, so it's finally here, Cyberpunk 2077. A game that is on one hand a technical masterpiece, but on the other, a blurry, buggy mess. But only for some.
No!
How can a game that's been in development for the better part of 8 years have such a polarizing response from players? Well, today I want to cover a few things in response to that, as well as some thoughts on why Cyberpunk is not as big of a flop as some of you may think. It's a bit complicated, but Cyberpunk's launch came at a crossroad for gaming. Let me explain. Okay, so Cyberpunk 2077 is supposed to be an open-world RPG game that takes place in the year 2077. Yep, a Blade Runner, future-esque game with the mechanics of the Fallout series, but with the visual polish that'll literally crash your system. No, really, like, actually crash your system.
No!
It's no secret that if you're trying to play Cyberpunk on anything but a high-end gaming PC or next-gen console, you're likely having a bad time. And you're probably thinking, Cyberpunk? More like cyber, f*** this game. Many players have reported progress halting bugs and crashes across the board, but overwhelmingly on last-gen consoles. If you're currently attempting to play the game on PS4 or Xbox One, let me start by saying it sucks. That's it. It sucks CD Projekt Red would even launch Cyberpunk in its current condition on last-gen consoles, likely knowing it was just barely within the margin of playability. It's disheartening and frustrating, especially to those who are unable to snag a PS5 or Series X in time for launch. All players on all platforms deserve to experience Night City and all it has to offer, from the overly sexualized red light district to the gorgeous sprawling metropolis full of interesting and quirky activities.
In Japan, brain surgeon, top of all. Good instinct. One day, Tiger Claw boss needs surgery, but both die on table. Tiger Claws were very angry. I hide in boat, swim to America. Here didn't save me, but there is secret. I killed Tiger Claw boss on purpose. World best surgeon, make no mistake.
Even though I primarily play on PC, I feel for those who are looking forward to playing Cyberpunk but have been halted by frustrating errors and game-breaking bugs. But there is some good news. CD Projekt Red has already supposedly began rolling out an update to alleviate some of these major issues. It's patch 1.04. It's not clear whether or not this is the fix-all patch, but it should hopefully allow players who were stuck to at least continue playing with minimal disruptions. But if you were expecting the visuals to improve, you're out of luck, and you'll either have to deal with the appearance as is or utilize your free upgrade to a next-gen console if your copy is eligible to do so, and assuming you can get your hands on a new console these days. This leads me into the launch timing of Cyberpunk. Of course, many of you know the game was set to release months prior to its final release date, and within that delay, or delays, some important things happened. The original release date for Cyberpunk was sometime in April of this year, and clearly that didn't happen. With the announcement of the next-gen consoles and the next generation of RTX cards coming only 5 months later, CD Projekt Red had a difficult choice to make. Push the game out in its current state and bring updated support later for new hardware, or delay the game until the release of the new hardware to provide a more next-gen experience for new console owners and new RTX owners, despite the fact that definitive versions for both PS5 and Xbox Series X have yet to be released at the time of launch. Both options had their advantages and disadvantages. But it was clear both options could not be had given restrictions likely introduced by COVID, along with other budgetary and time constraints the team was likely working with during this time. On one hand, CD Projekt Red could have just focused on optimizing for current gen hardware to ensure that the majority of players got to play the game sooner and have a better experience than they currently are. However, this would have likely resulted in players and reviewers experiencing the game at much lower quality than what was possible given a bit more time. While a majority of last-gen consoles would have likely been happier this way, it wouldn't have been the right choice, in my opinion. While I wish CD Projekt Red would have just sold the game on next-gen consoles and PC, assuming it was going to be this rough on last-gen, I think doing so would have put them in the doghouse with many, if not all, last-gen owners, especially those who didn't get a next-gen console. Also, given the insistent nature of CD Projekt Red when it came to not showing user gameplay prior to launch, a more staggered launch per platform would have probably ruined the experience for platforms who had yet to have access to the game before others. It was simply a lose-lose situation. While I don't believe that any one platform deserves more than another, I do believe it's on us as gamers and consumers to better understand the products we buy and the hardware we play them on. Gaming is no longer just a disc and a big green go button. It's much more than that, and unfortunately PS4 and Xbox One have run their course. It's unfortunate that Cyberpunk ended up being the last major release title to define this, but it was inevitable, and it happens every generational leap in hardware. We saw it coming, and we should have known better.
Looks like you're stuck with me.
Now, that doesn't excuse the near broken experience on last-gen consoles, but it's our responsibility as smart consumers to make smart choices about what we buy, even if companies should, in good spirit, make a good effort at selling quality products. We've all been there, though. We could sit around all day and argue about who is in the wrong here, but in reality, it's both parties. CD Projekt Red has already made a statement on the matter, which is a nice gesture, but won't make the experience any better for those who have already removed the game from their library. But what if you're not playing on a last-gen console, or a console at all? Well, I can tell you from my time with the game on PC that it's simply stunning. I'm running the game at native 4K, mostly max settings and ray tracing turned on using DLSS, and wow, it's just beautiful. It is clear the game was built to run on high-end machines, and it shows. Now, I will preface with the fact that I know most people won't play the game this way, even next-gen console players. But this is how a game like Cyberpunk is meant to be played. It is a technical masterpiece, and it showcases some of the coolest advancements in graphics technology we've seen to date. Not to mention the fact that it's arguably the most ambitious open-world game we've seen in years, maybe even ever. All this combined with a kick-ass story, memorable character interactions, and a truly immersive game world, and you get a next-gen experience that'll keep you glued to your seat for hours on end. These new technologies may mean nothing to you now, but these are the stepping stones that lead us to better performing consoles, as well as more immersive games in the future. So while it is arguably unfair that there's such a variance in experiences to be had with Cyberpunk for the same price per platform, I think that this is generally going to be the case when it comes to gaming nowadays. Exclusives are becoming more and more scarce, and support for PC is becoming increasingly more popular due to the lower barrier of entry, and as a result, developers are putting more emphasis on optimizing for high-end PC hardware as consoles slowly become more and more PC-like in nature, with dynamic resolution and ray tracing options already showing up on PS5. Now, all this may mean nothing to you, and that's fine. I didn't come here to tell you how to play your games. However, I am here to tell you that the industry is moving forward, and if you refuse to keep up, well, you're gonna have more Cyberpunk on PS4 type of experiences. Whether or not it should be that way is for you to decide, but either way, games are becoming more and more demanding whether we like it or not, and you'll need better hardware if you expect more than 30 FPS and applesauce-like graphics on your system. So at the end of the day, the release of Cyberpunk is really no different than any other major release. It has its bugs, it has its issues on different platforms, and given its hype, it was bound to disappoint somewhere. But even with that, it doesn't take away from the fact that Cyberpunk is an incredible game. Some of us are more lucky than others when it comes to stability, but that's the nature of software in general. We can only hope CD Projekt Red supports Cyberpunk the way they did Witcher 3 and continue to roll out patches and updates to bring a better experience to more and more people. To clarify, I'm not giving CD Projekt Red a pass here, but I've learned my lesson with this sort of thing, which is why I invested in my PC. But I think people need to spend less time watching reviews and comparisons and spend more time playing games on their setup, assuming they can. So that's gonna be it for me. I hope you all found this topic interesting. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on all this down in the comments below. What is your take on Cyberpunk 2077 so far? Do you think gaming on consoles is slowly moving closer and closer to PC gaming? Did CD Projekt Red make the right choice in how they launched the game? Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss some other cool videos I have coming soon. Peace!